Dear friends, today is Hanukkah, the first night, and I wanted to share with you a very interesting thought. This thought is based on the mitzvah of Hanukkah. The mitzvah of Hanukkah, although many things happened, the main theme, I think, was the war, the fact that Bnei Israel didn't have a chance to do the mitzvah, and they rebelled, and they won this war against all odds. But yet, the way we celebrate is only by manifesting the light. And the beracha we say is Asher ki yishan mitzvotav yitzvanu la'adlik ner Chanukah. The only mitzvah we have is by lighting this ner that, of course, represents the other miracle that we experienced over 2,000 years ago. And that is because, as you already know, the Maccabees, when they went into the Bet HaMikdash to again do the service in the Bet HaMikdash, in the temple, there was not enough oil, and they started lighting with the little bit of oil that they had, and it lasted 8 nights. Now, again, out of all the miracles that this story carries, the only one that we celebrate really is the one of the oil. This seems insignificant compared to the other miracles, especially the war and the regaining of the Bet HaMikdash. So I would like to share with you a thought that I believe is very interesting. Like always, we try to go to the earliest source of something similar to what we're trying to find out. Here, in the story of Hanukkah, there's something very similar to the story of Hanukkah that we already know from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. The earliest source, I think, that is similar to the story of Hanukkah and to the miracle of the oil that basically is fueling the flame but is not burning. What does it remind you of? I think it reminds me of the burning bush. The burning bush has a very similar story behind it. And that is that Moshe Rabbeinu goes and sees this burning bush, and it's burning, but it's not being consumed. Isn't it similar to the story of the oil in the temple, that the flame is burning, but the fuel is not being consumed? Is there a connection there? What would that connection be? So I would like to share with you that perhaps this is the whole celebration of Hanukkah. And that's the reason why we only celebrate through a mitzvah, not the winning of the war, not the success of other areas, but only the miracle of the oil. So what is that? Let's go back to the story of Moshe. In the story of Moshe, when you talk about the burning bush, there's an emphasis on one point, and I would like to read to you the Pesukim. This is in Perek Gimel, Pasuk Bet, Gimel Dalet. This is the 3rd chapter of Exodus, of Shemot, and Pasuk 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to quote, Vayera malach Adonai elav belabat esh mitoch haseneh. The angel of Hashem appeared to him in a blazing fire out of a bush. Vayat. He saw, he gazed. Ve'ineh haseneh bo'er ba'esh. The bush was burning in a flame. Ve'haseneh enenu ukal. But the bush was not consumed. Vayomer Moshe asurana ver'eh. Moshe says, listen to these words. Moshe says to himself, I said, I must turn ver'eh and look again at hamar'eh hagadol hazeh. This marvelous sight. Madua lo yiv'ar haseneh. Why isn't this bush burning? You see the emphasis of the Torah here. It says twice. Moshe saw that it was not burning, that it was burning but not being consumed. And then it says, Moshe says to himself, I'm going to turn and gaze again, and I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to look and watch what's going on. Madua lo yiv'ar haseneh. Why is the bush not burning? And then Hashem sees this, and he jumps on the opportunity, says, I want to talk to this person. Why is the Torah emphasizing, underlining very strongly the fact that Moshe saw this fact, and the fact that Moshe paid attention to this and asked himself, why isn't this burning? Twice the Pasuk tells us that that was Moshe's question. This is what caught the attention of Moshe. So there must be something there. You know what the answer is, I believe? Imagine you're walking and there's a burning tree. How long does it take you to realize that the tree is burning, but is not being consumed? You know how long it takes? Very, very long. Because apparently when you see flame around the tree, it's going to take very long to realize that really it's not being consumed. You would have to stay an hour or 2 or 3. I don't know how long you had to stay there. And then after a while, you'd say, what's going on here? This is not something quick. This is something so slow. It's not burning. I mean, it's burning. The flames are there, but the tree is not being consumed. The tree is still there. It would take a very long time. I'm saying 3 hours, it could be even more. But there are 2 points here. Number one, almost like the curiosity of finding out what's going on. Why did Moshe even think about it? Again, if you pass by, a tree and the tree is on fire, well, you'll call 911. But are you going to pay attention if it's being consumed or not? That's not going to be something that crosses our mind. Number two, the length that it took Moshe to realize, again, these is 2-3 pesukim, but maybe it took very, very long. Maybe this is a story that took 10 hours just to realize, hey, there's something wrong here. Maybe in the story of the Maccabees, there's a similar point, is that the Maccabees, they light the menorah. And then the next morning, they put maybe a little bit more oil they have left. I'm sure they put a little bit. They didn't have a lot, so they put a little bit the first night. And then they put a little bit more the next day. And it lasted long. You need to be looking for the miracle. You need to be paying attention. You need to even envisage the fact that there could be such a miracle. And you know what that is? That teaches us as people who see something being consumed, something burning but not being consumed, that the source of the fire, which is normally the wood or the oil, may be something else. Maybe there's something else fueling that fire, and that would be a divine power. But now to get there, I need, number one, to pay attention to very, very small details. I need to be, open-minded enough to know that such a thing could happen. And number two, I need patience. And I need to be aware that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be doing things like this. So it could be, I'm thinking, the story of Hanukkah has a lot to do with this. The story of Hanukkah is teaching us exactly the same point as Moshe Rabbeinu. And what is that? That is that number one, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is fueling the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here, but you know where you find him? In the small details. Maybe God is not going to open the Yam Suf. Maybe God is not going to send 10 plagues to the Egyptians again. But God, in a very subtle way, he's there. The question is, do we see him? Before the question of do we see him, do we seek him? Are we looking for those details? Are we taking the time to pay attention to those details? We say in the Modim every day, a very general statement. Modim anachnu lach al nisecha shebechol yom imanu. On all the nisim, the miracles that you do with us. But in the Nishma to say even more, על אלף אלפי אלפים ברוב ליבי רבבות פעמים הטובות ניסים ונפלאות שעשית עמנו ועם אבותינו. On the millions and millions of favors and miracles that you did with us and our ancestors. But did we take the time to look for them? When we don't understand something, what do we say? We just say, it happens, things happen. Or do we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there protecting me? I give you a simple example of these days. You know how many times you find out, Alenu, somebody got sick, somebody had COVID. This is a disease that spreads so fast. Sometimes they call you and they let you know, I had COVID and I was with you the day before, 2 days before. So I need to let you know that you were in my close proximity and I need to let you know. And then you wait a day or 2 or 3 and you have no symptoms. You go test yourself and you're negative. And then you're thinking about it and you're like, this Borei Olam is protecting me. Borei Olam doesn't mean Chas Shalom that those who get it, that is not protecting. Like if it happens like this, I'm sure it happens to a lot of people. Borei Olam is there with you. Borei Olam is protecting you. Borei Olam, if it's not in the COVID, it's just an example, could be in other areas. But we have to, number one, look for it. And number two, we have to accept the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there for us. And sometimes it takes very long to realize, like the 2 cases that we have. the burning bush and the Hanukkah story of the oil. For me, it's almost the same story. And so I think it is no coincidence that in the light, in the time that we celebrate the small little light, the small little candle, at the same time the world is celebrating a lot of candles, a lot of light. All the holiday season is full of light, almost trying to swallow our light. Where is the light of the Hanukkah in there? When you see so many lights on the trees, in the buildings, in the entrances, you go on Collins Avenue, you go in Manhattan, everything's full of light. And we're looking for that small little light of Tahara, this small little Hanukkah. You have to look for it. You have to search. When you look, you look. Oh, you find the light of truth. You find the light of Tahara, of purity. You find the light of hope. That light, you have to look for it. You only look for it if you believe it exists. And that's what we celebrate. So my dear friends, I believe when we light the small light of Hanukkah tonight, we pay attention to those details. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we invite HaKadosh Baruch Hu into our lives.